Hi, everybody. Welcome to this
Is that
fourth
it?
episode.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome to this fourth episode of Sutras for the Future of Work. I'm Achyut Menon, and I'm joined today by Sarah Reyes, all the way from Sydney. And so,
Hi,
would love to.
everyone.
One, one second. Yeah, hi. Can you see? So, good morning, everybody.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sarah, for coming in. Okay.
No worries.
So essentially, we are all in the midst of the most unprecedented of times. Across the world, for the last 3 months, there's been lockdown in different sizes and impact across the world. And one thing is for sure, that all our kind of discussions are just about beating around the bush. None of us are sure about what's going to happen. But one thing one thing we know, that workplace and workforce is changing, and we are not going to roll back to what was the life in February. Okay? So
Exactly.
I've been having this series for last couple of weeks, and today I'm glad to get in Sarah Reyes, who is also a leading partner in NPA Worldwide, representing the organization called Avanti People Partnership. Now, I've known Sarah through her mother, who was the chairperson of the NPA Worldwide, which is an international recruiter network with over 500 partners across 61 countries. So, true to how the world is changing, Sarah is a second generation professional who has joined in to
Don't
help
get my
the family
age right.
business. We're not talking about age.
Don't get my age. We're not far apart.
I know, fair enough. So, Sarah, so if you can just talk to our audience and tell us who you are, because I think you have some very interesting background. You're essentially from Philippines, but you probably have now in Australia. So if you can let us know about yourself, we can start ahead.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. It's great to have you all here. So, we're having a really interesting discussion from two parts of the world, so India and Sydney, and interesting background. So, I'm quite a multicultural citizen. So, I grew up in the Philippines, and I moved to Sydney. My mom is in the US, and she is has a partner over there, and he's American. So I get a lot of different cultures and different backgrounds, and of course insights of how the world works, which I'm quite proud of. When they say diversity or inclusion, that's something that really resonates to me, having worked in different environments. And I think a lot of you know as well that I had my own childcare education center, and it was inspired by intergalactic space, because I really love the future of what the future entails, and AI and all these technology really excites me because it has no borders. So I guess I'll go through that a little bit, because I think that what's interesting about what we did in that space is there was a lot of collaboration. I didn't have the normal setup of hierarchy in that organization. I made sure that everyone is driven by goal and mission and purpose, rather than force or trying to diminish the capabilities of the staff. So the staff can make decisions. So I emphasize that you can fail, but just fail fast, and it's okay. It's okay for you to experiment on things like I had one staff before. She said, "Can we paint the walls?" And because I wanted to build the morale. Oh, well, that's different. She said, "I don't."
So Sarah, let me
Yeah.
interrupt you here. We've got some friends who are joining us on live on Facebook. We've got Dietrich all the way from Bali, and he's saying hi to you and I. Okay, and he's saying you're looking sharp. So hi, thanks Dietrich for coming in. So would love to have you engage us, because while we are talking here to the camera, okay, we would love to if you can comments
Haven't
so
spoken
that.
to him in ages. Yeah, Dietrich, I haven't
Yeah,
spoken to him
wonderful.
in ages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember, Sarah, you were the person who introduced Dietrich to NPA Worldwide.
Through a newspaper ad.
Wow. Okay.
I was sitting in a I was in Bali for business explorations, and I was in Conrad Bali, and I remember sitting in the deck. And I was like, I need some inspiration. I picked up a newspaper and I saw Global Expat. I said, oh,
Okay.
interesting.
Uh-huh.
So I contacted him, and at first it was, Dietrich's like, should I engage or not? But eventually we were able to onboard him through the organization, and now he's done a split with Edwin, which is fantastic. It took
Fantastic.
a
In
long
fact,
time.
for the viewers,
Yeah,
we must let you know that for the last 3 months, the world has come to a stop. Most companies and
yeah,
recruiters haven't been hiring. And despite this lockdown, it's an amazing testimonial to how collaborations work, because
yeah.
Dietrich, based in Bali, has collaborated with another partner, Edwin Tia in Singapore, and they've been
Mm,
able to create business out of nowhere. So this is the
absolutely.
power of
Great.
collaboration. Yeah. So coming back to Sarah, you were telling. Sorry, I interrupted you. The idea was, you said you were born in Philippines. Your mother's from US, and then and now all the places in the world, you've now decided to settle in Australia. So if you can tell us, what is that which drives you? Okay, what makes you who you are? Because you also talked about your journey through your earlier businesses. So we'd love to know more about it.
I don't think the era of, we've done to different eras in the world, right? When it comes to workforce, and the automation nowadays is more on focusing on all these repetitive things, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I think there's a space for that. But what AI absolutely cannot do is be creative, right?
Hmm.
Be relevant when it comes to complex thinking.
Hmm.
So I love the fact that, during like I owned that education business. It's only, compared to the sizes of the centers here, it's 86th place. And the things that we did in there are not conventional. That's why I called it unconventional education. So
Right.
I bought a bus, and the bus takes the children to outskirts, and these are really life learnings, not from the book. They come back, and then they'll say, oh, I caught a fish, what does that mean? What does that mean in life? Oh, I made a mistake, it's okay. We don't encourage that, creating anxiety when you made that failure. So I think that's the failure of education at the moment.
Right.
Apart from the fact that you go on debt, big amounts of debt, especially in the US,
True.
I think they failed to evolve, and they failed to deliver that notion that it's okay to fail as long as you just learn from it. So the more you
Fantastic.
experiment, right? The more you experiment, especially in business, the more you experiment, the better it is that your outcome, because you're testing things, right? How many
True.
rockets have we launched, overseas, and it just failed? I think India has done that,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. So, in fact,
So
I think we got to also look at the context. In these last 3 decades, the world has changed, and I think part of it is because of Google. Okay, now Google
yeah,
has all the information. So, knowledge
absolutely.
or education, as we thought of it when I grew up, was totally different from today. Today, if you want any knowledge or information, we can actually just Google. So,
Yeah,
even people like us are thought of only for insights. So I think you rightly alluded to the point of education. So education today must make
mm,
probably children learn to learn. Okay, that's
yeah,
fantastic. We have joined by another BNI partner of mine who's from Italy, Spain, Dante Florini, a very interesting
nice.
personality. He's actually a creative designer. He grew up and did business in America, and off late
Yeah,
has moved to Spain. He's again a global professional, having his offshore development center in Argentina. Okay, so we're coming back to the same thing. So it doesn't matter,
wow.
Sarah, whether you are in Sydney and I'm in
Yeah,
Hyderabad. today the opportunities are same for everybody in the world. So probably you could now tell us about the kind of work which you have moved in from education. Now you, how do you think the world of recruitment is now turning out to be?
I think I think there's going to be a lot of automation. There already is.
Right.
Apart from that, you have to offer something more than sourcing or searching, creative solutions in the workplace. Because look, I'm in deal making, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of these, we raise the capital for these companies, and then these companies already have the capital to deploy.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We can't hear you, Sarah.
Justified.
Yeah.
Yeah, you good? Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Yeah.
thought I blacked out or something.
No, they're back now.
So
Yeah.
deployed in a certain area. Yeah. And what we look at is, okay, so now you need to we give you advice. Now you need to deploy some capital for your company, for say the HR department, or onboarding more staff. But how do you justify having an external recruiter come in and do all that work when I can just go into Glassdoor or all these platforms? So now I was thinking, maybe if they have that, all these recruiters have this entrepreneurship mindset. When I can go into a business, I can tell the business, okay, you're suffering in this, right? What are the solutions I can offer to you apart from just sourcing? How about the candidates? Are we recording their conversations and analyzing that conversation? Do we just call them when we need them? Is another thing. I think I have a problem with that, right? So it's like
Absolutely.
friendship, friendship is connection. I'm sure you agree, having gone through all the generations in recruitment. Like, you have more right in this space, but gone are the days where you have to go to uni and do all these work. Now everything's in the internet.
Absolutely.
I went from education to doing this to deal making by just being, doing a capital raising 5-day course. And I immersed myself in the space, and then somehow associated myself to the people that are already doing it. And so my cost of education is extremely low.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what's wrong with that.
No.
There's
Actually,
nothing wrong, right?
there's a famous saying that we must never allow your schooling to affect your education. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's and it's more prevalent in today's world, where everything is online. Okay. There's so much of information available. Hey, I'm just trying to. We have about 16 viewers right now online. Okay, who are watching us. So I must acknowledge them. Thank you everybody for coming by. Though I can't see the names, because unless you comment, it will not be visible to us. We know that 16 people are watching. I have yet another professional from it's Bangkok, Shweta Kukreja. She is an MBA and used to work in a Big Four organization, and now joined a family business in exports, and she's part of a business networking group that I am in. And so she's kind of already commenting here, saying that yes, better to collaborate rather than compete. Okay. So
yes.
So and actually,
collaboration.
Dietrich also tells me that that thanks to Sarah picking up the newspaper in Bali. Okay. Thanks for your proactivity and bringing us to NPA. Okay, wonderful. So these are the comments which I can reading out to
success. Well done, fantastic.
Right.
And
So
thanks to you, I mean, AK, you're very seem to be very embracing of what is ahead. I mean, I don't think you're a type of guy who's resistant to change, right? I think that's the worst that could happen to anyone.
Believe me, it's a very, you're touching a raw nerve, because when I start, I mean, I'm not going to tell my age, okay, but when I began recruitment, there was no social media, okay, there was no Facebook, there was no Google, in fact, there was no internet also, or mobile phone. So I go back to an era where predominantly business happened. The only way you could advertise in people was in print, and people actually physically met people to kind of understand the business. Okay, I'm really fortunate that in being part of that era where we've been used to the changing technologies, globalization has happened, and fortunately, I've been able to reinvent myself. But I think it's more, it's not by, we don't have a choice. No? If we don't change, we'll perish.
Evolve.
Okay, and the idea
That's
today
right.
is we have to be relevant in the context of the changing world. Okay, so
And
yeah,
your
so
son is doing it for you. Your son is
yes,
like
right now,
doing all these platform for you.
in fact, both my children are the people who are trying to teach me the social media, and they're trying to educate me about how to use, when to
What is
go
a
live,
hashtag?
and what are the hashtag, probably, including the StreamYard, which is helping us to live stream on Facebook, kind of a thing.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
That's great. That's great.
so I guess as a professional today, uh, we can't just depend on what we learned in school. Okay, we have to learn, we have to constantly unlearn and relearn. And I think one of the qualities which are required for any professional in today's world is probably lifelong learning. Okay, so that's,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm telling you by
absolutely.
experience. So um, we have no choice. We have to adapt. And in fact, if you look at Charles Darwin, his theory is more apparent now, that it's not the strongest or the fastest who wins, but the person who's able to adapt with change. Okay. So yeah,
Absolutely.
coming back to our conversation, Sarah. So you also, can you just tell us something about the company that Avanti People Partnership is about? How long have you been in business, and what's the kind of work you've been doing? Which all markets you have been doing, and how has work been in the last couple of months? If you can just allude to that, our listeners would also know how things have been evolving.
I think you're right. Although there's automation, I think relationships is still a key to this business. So I suppose people reach out to us because of the network, because of they know the name. Also, the fact that because I'm also in deal making, there's deals that I do that I would go, okay, so we do the capital for you. You know, I make the term sheet, and we will also recruit for you. Or would you
Okay.
like us to offer some other services like go at the, do your back end office or analyze your business? And then we can also offer you the analysis and the solutions itself. So these are the kind of specialized um, solutions that we try to offer. And in the future, we see it as, just evolving around collaboration. So collaboration instead of being competitive. There's a lot of deals at the moment in the mergers and acquisition space as well, where
Okay.
companies are joining together because it's too hard to go it on your own. And a lot of companies are getting delisted. There's a lot of insolvencies. There's actually a lot of bargains out there. You just have to
Yeah.
look.
Yeah,
And
actually,
yeah,
what you say is absolutely right. We are probably in the midst of the most disruptions worldwide. Okay, in the last 20
absolutely.
years, thanks to the growth of technology or globalization and the rapid acceleration with all this is happening, business models are changing so fast that companies have to constantly reinvent. And
Yeah.
this is one example. This COVID is one thing which has probably brought a whole lot of world to stop. And yes, you're right. There are a lot of good companies who probably, hey, I lost you, Sarah. So yeah, so we'll wait for Sarah to come back. Okay. Yeah, I'll just get her back. Yeah, we
I'm
just
here.
lost you for a
Okay.
minute, Sarah. So we're talking about the rapid disruption in technology and stuff like that. So the mortality rates of companies itself is low.
That's a
And now
disruption.
yeah, that's exactly. So what
Yeah.
you're trying to tell me is now, because of the kind of multi-pronged strategy you have, you're able to not only provide for human capital, but you're also able to provide venture capital, is what you're trying to say.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
Wonderful.
absolutely. And we are also able to provide, say, services that not very obvious to the naked eye. So
Okay.
in the other group that I have, Strategem, we have a data marketing person. We also have one guy who owns like a tourism agency. And if you're doing something in hospitality and tourism, he's got a whole database of people that he's
Right.
happy to collaborate with. So we do interesting things like that. And I
Fantastic.
think that's the future of work and career and the world. I mean, I know for a fact that there's a lot of manufacturing coming back on shore, right? Because obviously reaction to the market, they don't want to be dependent. Like Australia doesn't want to be dependent to China. There is a lot of I suppose, as you know, a lot of politics, but I won't go into that.
Fair enough.
That's not what we're here for.
Sure.
But also, there's a lot of things that we could do together.
Sure. So
And
you were, I
yeah,
recall in an earlier conversation, Sarah, you're talking something about low touch economy. Okay.
yeah.
And low. So if you can collaborate, I mean, that was a very good topic that you mentioned about. So if you can
Mm.
probably tell us about what your thoughts of, no, uh, what are the kind of new opportunities which are likely to be emerging on the other side of COVID? It will be wonderful.
Low touch economy, I just want to emphasize on what it means. It means that we are now getting to an era where we don't have to travel halfway across the world to be able to
Right.
do business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I do love it. But because companies are so conscious about their costs, one, and then two, because of safety, of course, because of COVID, um, there's a lot of things I've seen out there, like the virtual immigration is one, you know, law firms starting to do everything virtual.
Right.
You know, things like holograms. One
Right.
company approached me and they are wanting to do boardrooms as holograms. So imagine
Fantastic.
me going to India in your boardroom, but I didn't get into a flight, but I'm there. It's like Star Wars. So I think that was very interesting. There's also a lot of digital venture capital partnerships. So
Right.
I don't have to go there and sign papers. I meet you virtually and we do a contract and it's all done virtual. There's also something interesting like rental home office equipment.
Right.
As you said, is there a lot of uncertainties in the home office environment? So I don't know how long will this last. So it might be a good idea to invest on some home office equipment,
Fair
but
enough.
don't have to pay for it. You just rent it out.
Sure. Uh,
I've seen gyms as well set up at home
okay.
in the home environment here, which is interesting. So those are a couple of things. There's a lot of remote working activity, but the challenge is how do you monitor people?
Fine.
How you
I
create that
I'll
sort of
interrupt you
oneness?
here. I'll interrupt you here, Sarah,
Yeah.
because we have some more comments. Now we have a lot more viewers online, and we have three more people who have commented here. One is Sneh Kulkarni. Okay, this is a very enterprising lady. She has just returned from US back to India, and she runs two
Mm.
companies. One in the IT
All
software
right.
business, and more interestingly, in the last few months, because of the lockdown and the kind of unusual situation that most people are, she has been working with companies and find that while initial 1 week, 2 weeks, where all the people were excited about working from home, okay, slowly that has become stressful. And so today,
Oh.
apparently, the productivity levels of people are reducing because what's happening is they're too strong. One, people are not going to work and they're having to do the work from home.
Mm.
Two, when they are at home, they are required to handle both personal work and the office work. And most of us in India aren't geared like the Western country. If we don't have enough infrastructure or internet and stuff, that in the same house we're probably sharing with several generations. Okay, so
Yeah.
off late she is feeling there is this stress for the employees has actually reduced the productivity, and so now companies are actually worrying about how do we make people more productive when they are working from remote. Unfortunately,
Mm.
the economic situation also is there are a lot of companies who decide to cut costs and cut salaries. So now, Sneh is talking about wellness program. She works with some of the companies and spends time with the HR and their extended team to try and give counseling and stuff like that. So these are also a new opportunity today. These were not
Mental
careers
health.
which mental health, wellness kind of a thing. Okay. And so I have also another gentleman, Amit Mupiri, who is talking about multi-prong strategy. Yeah, we need to be more connected with our clients and understand their pain points and be able to transfer some of our skills in other industries to come in here. I also have a comment from Rajiv Dabotkar. This is another gentleman who has been at the forefront of, he was in America for 20 years and he's back to India now. And wants to know a little bit of virtual immigration. So I thought I can probably give an example of a recent discussion which I was talking to you, Sarah, about. See, like you mentioned, alluded to it, after this last 3 months, companies are unwilling to invest in travel, and more than companies, the executives, because we don't know. First of all, these travels probably, if somebody is to come from America to Australia, he probably has to fly 18 hours. How much? 20 hours? How much? How far is it from here? Huh?
Oh, yeah, it's about that
Yeah.
about that, depending on
So
how you have connections.
the risk of flying in a very closed environment.
Yeah.
B, after reaching, there is a possibility of the your quarantine kind of a thing. So earlier, if people used to
14.
travel, okay, earlier if people used to travel, say for a 3-day visit from say London to Portugal or France, or come back, today they're
Yeah.
going to hesitate in going across the borders. So what's going to
Yeah.
happen now is they will, and also, so there's going to be a lot of virtual immigration. Okay, in
Yeah.
the sense, today companies, like you rightly said, there are lots of deals available in Asia and Asia Pac and all those places, which the American probably may not be able to travel any longer, but they will probably be engaging professionals like us for these deals, and it no longer permanent jobs, but probably it could be a kind of a freelance kind of a job or a consultant kind
Yeah.
of a job, or probably even terms of temporary assignment for between 3 weeks to 18 weeks kind of a thing. Yeah, going back, so we
And
have.
with India, is there like a problem with trust when it comes to digital um, agreements?
See, I think it's a little too early to tell right now. Okay,
Okay.
because in fact, all of us have probably adopted digital more by force. All these
Mm,
technologies
mm,
existed even in December last year, but we never used all these tools. But these work
mm.
from home in the last 3 months has. So I guess, because, but I've heard of my clients saying that they have made digital agreements. They've got
Yeah.
digital signs being done. Okay, so
Yeah.
all the
I
contracts
have to
still.
mention
Yeah.
contracts. Yes, contracts is big, and I have to mention this to you because we've got one client at the moment. If they really want to protect their IP, like they've actually got a vault, like a crypto vault, and you can put all your IP in there, and they'll protect it for you on a subscription basis. And they're based in Europe, so they're looking for clients in this side of the world and Southeast Asia as well. I thought that
So
was really interesting because you have to protect a lot of things now. Everything is just done online and getting hacked left, right, and center.
one another thing
Mm,
you were talking earlier about the millennials. Okay, how
yeah.
the millennials look at the world in a totally different manner, and so if you can say how that will probably affect careers or even your deals which you're doing.
Well, having worked with a lot of them in my industry, they need to be valued. The millennials are not driven by the title, right? The stature, even the money. They don't even want to own anything anymore, and they like going into different industries, like a gig economy mentality, shared economy, gig economy. They like to be a digital nomad, some of them. So gone are the days that they want this heavy responsibility. Very different. And I think to motivate them and to encourage them, they need to be valued. They need to be motivated through ongoing learning, and you really need to emphasize that the value that they are bringing to the company, and vice versa, the value you're bringing to them. And I think a lot of people misconstrued millennials as, they don't want anything permanent. I think we have a responsibility to them to keep them interested because they are
Exactly.
born in an age where everything is available to them.
Sure.
And, before we can catch up to the information, they already know it because they already tweeted it or something. And that's the responsibility, I think. And I'm not sounding very old. I know
Not,
I'm
no,
more
no,
like
but
in the middle,
no,
right? I'm
no.
more like the
See, what
halfway
it,
for millennial and the baby boomer. So
no, no,
I've
but
worked in
interestingly,
across.
you'll notice one particular change. See, while uh, we we have been, as consumers, we have been spoiled by the latest technologies. So today,
Yeah,
if I were to buy anything, okay, all my inquiry is on Google, okay, and if I were to go and
mm,
buy, say, a mobile phone from Amazon.com, as soon as I
yeah,
kind of buy try and put something in my cart, automatically what is happening is Amazon has got so much of personalized information about us that they will say, hey, now that you bought a mobile phone, why don't you buy one, two, three? And then they
yeah,
say, hey, people like you have also bought this. And so moment you get used to that kind of information, okay,
yeah.
you are actually tempted to spend more time and go by the advice being given by this artificial intelligence and all that. So this is
Mm,
one way we as consumers have used to the emerging technologies. And if you even look at a Domino's pizza or whatever, moment you place an order uh, for a pizza, okay, you are given a tracking till the time it reaches
mm,
your doorstep. Okay, they'll say, okay, pizza is
yeah.
ready, then somebody's picked it up, somebody's on the way, and all that.
Mm,
But so while as consumers we have all adopted to all these changes, as employers or employees, we are still probably stuck in the old, economy, because the biggest complaint which most candidates find from recruiters like us is once they apply for a job, they have absolutely no clue of what's happening or why they
mm.
have no kind. So while we are using all these technologies in our personal life, I feel some of us are guilty of not using those technologies for our own office kind of a thing. So
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
that's right.
So I am feeling that a lot more. So these digital natives, which you talked about as millennials, they will adapt and change faster than most of us. Is my
Mm.
person what I
Oh,
think.
absolutely. I mean, if you are getting a performance appraisal by your employer, they have, like, Glassdoor does that. They've got a performance appraisal for the employer as well. So before I even go and do this due diligence, right? They go there and they say, "Oh, this company is not good to work in." They already know that, So how do we accustom ourselves to that kind of so transparent information? It's already out there, and
Okay.
influence these candidates to go to these, uh, I suppose, these jobs. And yeah, there's just no permanency. I believe
Right.
even business plans that are 12 pages don't apply now. I was talking
Correct.
to a friend. She's done social media from advertising for a long time, and she's very famous here. And she said that, I've deployed all my employees. I have no more office. They work anywhere. And I just don't have the normal. She said, I don't have the 12-month. It's like 3 months now,
Right. Yeah,
or
Sarah.
I'm ready.
Interestingly, there's a question from one of our viewers, Amit
Mm.
Mupiri. He is just asking a question. Can you see read the question? This is, how do you
How
look at
do
the
you,
gig economy? Yeah, survival in testing times, especially when companies do not have money to pay. Okay.
hmm.
So, would you want to go for it, or do you want me to respond to that?
I have an experience with the gig economy because I did it myself.
Okay.
So
Okay.
at one point I said, oh, Uber, right? Uber was new. I actually registered as a driver because I wanted to cover my cost going to the
Okay.
city. It's like a hundred
Right.
dollars.
Right.
And that time, Uber wasn't even regulated. So the fees, the percentage that they get is really low. It doesn't cover the entirety of your cost, but essentially it sustains a part of your income. So you can't depend on one income anymore. Gone are
True.
the days that you have a job, you've got one income. This pathway of, you know, going to uni, somehow, land in a job, save up, have your super and buy type of story is not a story that we're gonna have anymore. And I think if they don't have enough money to pay you as it is, how about if I have a social media following, bring them value? If that was me, if they asked me, oh, we don't have money. Well, how about if I have 10,000 followers in Instagram and I tweet or, you put that your logo or your company in my platform? Would we make a JV? Ask for equity. I would do
Possible.
something like that.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
so
So do you think, okay, let me ask you, I mean, this is a very interesting question that Amit has asked. So do you see any difference between a gig worker and a freelancer? Do you think there is any difference in that?
no, I think it's a fine line between that two.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
the
so
freelancer, yeah, yeah.
the way I see it is a freelancer probably is skilled in one particular skill, and he probably
Mm,
does the same skill for multiple employers. Okay,
yeah,
you could be a designer, and you will probably,
exactly.
and since you can't find one full-time job, or maybe
Yeah,
one company cannot employ you full-time, you probably
agree.
rent out your services morning to one company, afternoon to another company,
That's
third
right.
company. Whereas
That's right.
a gig economy, a gig worker can
Yeah,
probably do this, like you said, not only restricted to one particular skill, but the gig person can also end up being a Uber driver in the evening, or
mm,
a kind of a delivery boy for a pizza service in the night, and
yeah,
even as being a student. So I would believe that the opportunities today for the employee side, okay, the gone are the days of your full-time employment. But I think thanks to this gig workers and freelancers, there'll be more
yeah,
opportunities,
yeah,
and the onus is on the individual today. So
yeah.
if we have transferable skills which can be marketed, then we have a
Mm,
great opportunity to remain relevant. Earlier,
absolutely.
earlier, earlier, what used to happen is when you joined a company, you thought that the company's responsibility to skill you. Every 2 3
Mm,
years, the company will train you and promote you to another role, and then
mm,
the onus on training was probably on the employer. But
yeah,
today, because either way, there is nothing called a permanent job, because people keep changing jobs once in 2 3 years now. The future, as far as gig economy and freelancers, will squarely shift the responsibility of training from away from the employer to the employee. Okay.
mm, yeah, absolutely. I was reading this book called Radical Candor, and the
Mhm.
author is his name is Kim Scott. She's the CEO of Google. Actually, she's done a lot of work with Google, high
Okay.
up. And interestingly, the way Google works is not what we perceive Google works. They've got those superstars and rock stars, they call it. And, there's people that are really passionate about their jobs and not necessarily want to climb the corporate ladder. They're really good at what they do. So they want to stay there, and they're specialized, and you can't actually kick them out because they're so specialized, like a cybersecurity person, right? They get
True.
paid a
True.
lot too. So they don't encourage this mentality of trying to, dog eats dog. Let's just pull each other, And this is what's happening to the world at the moment, where dog eats dog, because we're conditioned to that mentality that, success looks like this. That I moved another step in corporate, hence I'm powerful and I'm more significant. They're actually training their employees to say, if you're good at that, then be good at it, and you don't have to do this path, the dog eats dog.
Yeah. Yeah, so I
I
think
don't.
coming back, so the concept of careers are changing. Okay, earlier you probably thought of growing in terms of titles and seniority and
Yeah,
designation, but now it's a kind of it's all about managing your skills. Okay, so I think yeah,
absolutely.
sure. So
You
wonderful.
nailed that in the head. Nailed that
Yeah,
in the
sure.
head.
Okay, so I think I just realized we've been speaking for almost 40 minutes now. So
That's great.
we need to we can go on and on like this, Sarah, but I think we'll have to try and
Yeah.
round up. I'll just, so listeners, there's still 14 of them right here. So just want to know if you have any queries specifically, please feel free to put them in the comments. Meanwhile, I would like to ask you what kind of advice do you have for uh, recruitment businesses? You're earlier alluding that they should stop thinking as being resume pushers or order
Mm,
takers. Okay, and
yeah.
so if you can tell us where do you see the future now?
I see the future of this as more than talent acquisition. I think the business model should be like what I thought about is if we can marry deal making and recruitment, and somehow when we get the funding we can just advise these companies that go, why don't we just take care of your human needs. Now we're talking directly to the business, right? But obviously bigger
Correct.
organizations have their own HR team.
Right.
That's
Right.
one. And then two, I believe we should be encouraging a lot of um, I suppose digitalization in the company. All these things that you can automate, just automate it, and keep evolving. I think it needs to be reinventing yourself, constantly be challenged. And I'm always want to be the dumbest person in the room. Like
True.
even if I'm part of the board, I make sure that I listen, right? Take what makes sense to you, and you don't have to implement everything, right? You take what makes sense to you and
Right.
what's applicable, and then just go with that. And there's no harm in trying. And if that doesn't work, you can always redeem
Yeah.
yourself. I think I've got more respect for people that do that rather than having a persona of perfection that and it's not working.
Yeah, I loved your statement earlier.
Yeah,
Fail fast, kind of a thing. Fail forward. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So I was wondering. I think we can wrap up the thing. So, are there any other issues
absolutely.
that you would like to probably share with our viewers and listeners, which I probably may not have asked questions or something?
No, I enjoyed this session. Thank you
Okay.
for organizing, and I would love to see how you evolve this platform because I think a lot of things would come out of this,
Yeah.
and a collaboration is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
One of
fantastic.
the good things about these kind of things is, even though in a live session probably only 10, 15 people probably are able to listen to it, I'm sure a lot of people are able to listen to it after it's recorded and all that. And so please let us know if you have any queries, and I'm sure I'll
Yeah.
get Sarah to respond to them offline also. So Sarah, are there any can we kind of tell people how they can reach out to you, how can they find you online, or if you can give us some.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a social media as well. So if you just Google Sarah Reyes at LinkedIn, I'll be there. I'm also in Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. If you really want to go email, then I've got an email address as well. It's
Sure.
sarah@avantpartship.com. And then my mobile is 0416286362.
So I'll put them in the
So I'm
comments
happy.
later. Okay, right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
so much for your organizing.
wonderful. Thanks a lot. So thank you everybody. We will sign off right now. So stay connected. Please feel free to let put in your queries if you have, and I'll probably address them. So we continue with um, this episode. We'll continue with the series, which is Sutras, the Future of Work. We have, as part of the International Recruiter Network that I've been part of, we have some exciting members from other parts of the world. And the idea is to try and see how each one of them brings a new perspective. It's been a
Yeah.
splendid uh, think today, learning from your experience, Sarah. So with this, I log off. Thank you
Thank
very much.
you. Thank you so much. Stay
Bye.
safe.